Hello YouTube, welcome to another video. Here we're going to be doing Ascension 1 with the Ironclad. This is going to be the first time I'm attempting Ascension on this new account, and I also want to let people know that the mods that I'm going to be using, the ones that are activated, you see right there are 9 mods that are activated in the top right. Those mods are purely cosmetic or quality of life mods that are nice to have. Nothing that aids me difficulty wise, except maybe always having the 4 Niao options. I just added that to my mod setup. I just think that it's a more interesting start having those choices, and it drastically changes how many ways a run could go. Starting out with the pathing, I'm looking to see which way I should go that maximizes card rewards now is something that I'm leaning towards after listening to a lot of what higher level players maybe that play Ironclad are doing. So you see looking at not only elite fights but which hallway fights get me extra card rewards to make our deck that much more powerful in Act 1. I've been listening to a lot of game theory on Ironclad, based on what these other high-level streamers, content creators are doing with Ironclad before attempting all these ascensions. I think Ironclad is probably, right now, my favorite character to play as. I think it has, with the exhausting and that mechanic, it's really fun to kind of whittle down to some really strong cards in your deck. We get an Apotheosis early, which is huge, and I think it's really good. It gives us a lot of options into that. Resting is more of an option at campsites now, whereas we are not so dependent on upgrading our cards at campfires since we have that Apotheosis. I take a Twin Strike as my first card reward, and I transform a strike into a True Grit, which is great. Again, another really good card that we got early on. True Grit, especially upgraded with Apotheosis with that targeted exhaust, just works with so much of what Ironclad wants to do, making sure that you can exhaust down to your most important cards, or you can exhaust out something like a curse or just some other unpleasant card like a status. The next card rewards we got Rage, Shrug It Off, and True Grit. I take a Shrug It Off. I just think Shrug It Off is some really good block, and we just improved our damage with Twin Strike. Twin Strike and Bash can do a lot of damage to many things, especially this Cultist. And taking 6 here isn't too bad because you heal 6 with Burning Blood. So that is what I'm most likely leaning towards here, and Apotheosis in a short battle like this means a lot less. So I think also the thing is that I'm learning to prioritize what is needed for the actual fight that I'm in rather than blind clicking a card that seems really good all the time. There are times that I'm playing where I'm noticing that I'm not clicking the power card because the fight is too short for the power card to matter. Here in this mystery event, I'm making sure to not pick up a card that I don't want. Here, Juggernaut was something that I wanted, so I was seeing if I could guess that correctly. It's a good power. I think Juggernaut opens you up for a lot of cool stuff, and we do get it, so that's awesome. Here at this campfire, probably gonna upgrade Apotheosis. Just think it's very solid, getting it down to a 1 cost, and it provides so much value Because if you draw it in your hand like this, I mean, immediately it gives you basically like an armaments plus. And then not only is it upgrading the rest of your cards, I'm surprised Apotheosis isn't considered a power. You know? It just seems like a power instead of a skill. Because of how strong it is. I think playing Juggernaut here is incredible because there are so many times where you want to just fully block, and Juggernaut will make it so you're taking care of damage without even playing attack cards. So elite fights are a case where you playing powers are actually worth it, because it does take quite a bit of turns to get them all out of here, at least with the current deck setup that we have. There are other deck setups maybe early that deal with this in a lot better way, like perhaps a Flex Whirlwind kind of combination. And it's looking like we're gonna get out of here pretty clean. And I wonder what relic we get here. Hopefully it's a good one. And we got Gremlin Horn, and that is huge. Gremlin Horn is a big deal. Gremlin Horn would have actually helped so much during that fight, but Gremlin Horn will provide so much value in the future. Fiend Fire just looks way too good there. I can't pass up Fiend Fire. Fiend Fire is one of those cards that it's just amazing what it does. It provides so much value. Not only is it doing incredible amounts of damage to something, but it's also exhausting your deck to the point where you're probably exhausting the cards that you didn't want to play, so that you can keep drawing the cards that you want to play. And here in this Laos fight, we're just full on potions. We have a Gremlin Horn. It's just looking really good here. And I opt to Fiend Fire, and I just play Defend for no reason. just for the lulz. See, look at that Apotheosis. And I don't mind taking a little bit of damage here because we're gonna full heal that. So it's a lot of times also I'm trying to remember that I don't have to fully block everything, using my health as a resource. I don't have to fully block everything because we do have that Burning Blood. And let's see what, choose Body Slam. I think Body Slam combined with Apotheosis gives you just a 0 cost attack that you can use. Especially on turns where, wow, and in Self-Forming Clay just kind of helps us play Body Slam even more. So that's great. Self-Forming Clay is definitely a great relic. We've gotten some great ones early on, which there's other relics that just do nothing immediately, and these provide so much value. One thing that I don't think I'm good at is proccing Self-Forming Clay to give you value next turn. So it is actually worth sometimes to take damage with Self-Forming Clay, because you can add that block to your next turn, and then as Ironclad you heal that anyway. So in this case, yeah, we took some damage. Now we have Self-Forming Clay, so that's an example of Self-Forming Clay actually proccing and helping us out if we need it. We might not even need it here. No, we don't. Actually, yeah, Self-Forming Clay. Yeah, Self-Forming Clay didn't play a part there, but it could have, and I think that that's something to keep in mind. I'd probably take a Thunderclap here out of these options. I think vulnerable is important to Ironclad, so. And that is a multi-attack. And we don't have any of that currently, so that fits that job, it does that niche. I don't attack on that turn in order to, yeah, be able to play our powers and to bash him down. And now he should be vulnerable for the whole rest of the fight. And then we played our Apotheosis, we played our Juggernaut, we're in a good position here to be able to take out this elite with some pretty good health. And we fully blocked that turn, and that is not an easy thing to do against Lagavulin. Here, we're gonna Fiend Fire and just take him out, and that is the power of Fiend Fire. We also get Ink Bottle, which is again another good relic. It's very good relic. You know, the game is blessing us, and I appreciate that. So we got a card choice here. And I'm just looking over my deck just to see. And I think it's important to take stock of what your deck is currently doing, what pieces it might need. I think I take a Bludgeon here. I don't actually think now, after taking Bludgeon in recent runs, I don't think that Bludgeon is actually a good card because it costs too much. I'm leaning towards Bludgeon not being good. I think Bludgeon can be good in some decks, obviously like a Snecko Eye deck or something. Bludgeon can be good. Maybe you Madness your Bludgeon, but even Madness is kind of a rough card to take in my experience. But that's my experience. You know, I'm sure you guys have probably played more than me. These are just like my opinions of playing Ironclad so far. This is an interesting shop. The game wants to give us Entrench. It does look pretty good at 39. And the relics here are not my favorite. I think removing a strike is definitely a play here. An easy play to make. Metallicize I do like also. I just think Metallicize is a nice card. One of my favorite things to do is like a dual wielding Metallicize kind of deck. It's not very often that comes together the right way, but Metallicizing dual wield, like dual wielding Metallicize is really cool once you get it set up and then you never have to worry about enemy attacks. By that time you can just do whatever you want, which, you know, you can feed whenever you want, kind of those kind of things. So this is a really good opening hand to be able to Metallicize, and probably True Grit that strike is probably what I'm gonna do. Yeah, just a nice play because not only does Metallicize work this turn, it keeps working for you. So I love that. And along with Juggernaut, it has that synergy where you're gonna deal damage passively. So you're gaining passive block and then you're also doing passive damage. Gremlin Horn makes that the play that I go towards, and then this play makes it so I can do damage to him, and he's done. Fiend Fire has to be one of my favorite cards because of how just quickly it gets you out of hallway fights and gets you into this card reward screen. Battle Trance is definitely something we need help with. We need help with card draw, so Battle Trance was just a card to take there. Getting Metallicized turn 1 against Gremlin Knob is huge. not getting Iron Wave first turn is not the greatest. Looking to see if I need to use a potion, but it looks like the potions that we have will work greater next turn or even the turn after that. I think a play we can do is definitely thunderclapping the Fiend Fire. We can also Liquid Memories the Bludgeon after thunderclapping the Fiend Fire, and that definitely takes them out. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, so good. So it's definitely good to have a potion that you can use on Knob. And then Toxic Egg is also one of the greatest relics to get early, so that we can just appreciate those upgraded cards. We do have Apotheosis, but you do have to wait until you draw Apotheosis for your whole deck to get better, so a Toxic Egg is always welcome, especially since skills are often what get you to your later deck, right? You're thinking about an Offering, you're thinking about a Battle Trance, you're thinking about a Shrug It Off. These things get you towards drawing Apotheosis. Here we upgrade True Grit. I think upgrading True Grit is great. Because of that targeted exhaust, you don't want to just exhaust a random card. And we're here at Slime Boss. I want to say that I appreciate everybody who's made it to this part of the video, everybody who's been watching my videos consistently, anybody who has commented, who has liked a video in the past. I want to say thank you to you guys. Special shout out to Gummy Bear in the comment section, who has been consistent. I love to see comments, so thank you to you guys. This is pretty simple here. We probably want to Fiend Fire so that way we don't get attacked. Yeah, and we did so much damage to him, where at this point we've beaten the Act 1 boss. I think it's safe to say that. And Gremlin Horn just gives us so much. And now with Gremlin Horn on these smaller slimes, we definitely have this in the bag. Maybe playing Bludgeon would have been funny there just to do it. And I do it, and boom. Ooh, Barricade is nice, Demon Form is great. Definitely Bludgeon, taking another Bludgeon is off the table. Demon Form is good. It does take a lot of energy to activate. Barricade is the same way, where it's like these things offer infinite scaling, but they do take a lot. I think Demon Form or Runic, like knowing if we're gonna get Runic, it's a lot easier to take Demon Form, and it's a lot easier to take Barricade, so Runic just helps us do those things. Hopefully we get, you know, a Demon Form later on or something, because Ironclad does want strength scaling. And we're looking at this pathing. The Ascension 1 adds more elites, that's why you guys are seeing a lot of elites. For anyone who isn't familiar with this, I'm sure most of you who are watching are very familiar, but, you know, seeing the difference between non-Ascension elites and then elites with Ascension 1 is pretty great. And I like fighting elites, I like getting relics after, so I don't even know if Ascension 1 is truly a difficulty increase. If you just see more elites. Maybe there's other balancing going on, but if the only thing that's happening is seeing more elites during your run, I could see why that is adding difficulty. But the fact that elites can give you a relic that just completely breaks your run also is, you know, it's a risk reward kind of thing that I gladly welcome. So we made it to Act 2. Hit that like button on the channel for that good luck so that we can keep getting good card rewards. And it just keeps me motivated to keep making more videos, so thank you guys for doing that. Here in this Free Birds fight, we love Thunderclap. Unfortunately, we drew it without any energy. For anyone watching at this point, I want to remind everyone of the current kind of channel schedule. I release full gameplays like this every week. I usually aim for Friday for these types of videos to be out. And I release shorts every weekday leading up to that Friday. And that is the schedule that I'm leaning towards currently. Once Slay the Spire 2 comes out, I'm not sure what's going to change about that. But I could definitely see something changing. And as you know, I see what works and what doesn't work on this channel. I could definitely see me altering things, so I'm not beholden to that forever, but that is like what my current plans are. Yeah, playing that activates Gremlin Horn, which helps me keep going, and then, you know, this bird is done. And we heal. That is why Burning Blood is so strong. You know, I've heard Dwarves talk about this, but Burning Blood just being your sustain as Ironclad, especially since Ironclad takes damage either with incoming damage or self-afflicted damage. Burning Blood is a good way to make sure that you're less likely to rest at campsites. Entrench here again looks really good because of Barricade. I think we have to take Entrench here. Flame Barrier is also pretty good. It might be a Flame Barrier and Entrench angle at this shop. Yeah, made some big purchases there. So now we have a Flex in our deck, and Flex plus Fiend Fire can do some big things. Obviously, also just Fiend Firing the Flex, because it does add some damage, but I think this is the better play of that. Also, Metallicize. I probably want to play Metallicize because it gives us that passive. And unfortunately, Ink Bottle was blocked there by Battle Trance. That's one of the, you know, downsides to Battle Trance is that it's not working nicely with Ink Bottle. It just so I don't think most cases that would happen, right? It just happened to line up there. But it probably most of the time doesn't have a problem with it. Dark Embrace is just amazing as a power in general. Ooh, Bludgeon almost takes him out. Here I think, well, yeah, Flame Barrier is easy to do. I think that won us the game, but there was another line there that we could have tried, which I think Shrug It Off, Entrench, Thunderclap, Body Slam might have done it also. I'm not sure. And here we have these card choices. Armaments doesn't look as good to us because we have Apotheosis. Rage is an interesting one. I think Carnage, because of it being ethereal and just being high damage, which it seems like we do need some extra damage. Playing Dark Embrace in preparation for Fiend Fire. I could see why I could lean towards that. Barricading is kind of tough. I do have to play it. But I think Barricade against this Cultist fight is actually tough because you would have to generate so much block that it carries over to the next turn, and you have to scale that block up pretty fast. Might have to draw Entrench twice in a row. Maybe if I had a headbutt or something similar that I can reliably do that with, that'd be a good idea. I think Flex there works great with Runic to be able to do some damage. But yeah, you know, that Flex didn't do all too much there. I think Rage would have done some good things there. Like if you rage and anger, that's kind of funny how they work like that. You have good synergy together. Here, playing 2 strikes on this Cultist or playing a strike and anger gets us more energy. And now that there's only 2 left, I think it's a lot easier to block or to just take them out. I think I could have just Fiend Fired last turn and that would have done a better job of just taking these guys out. I think I'm kind of playing with my food at this point. But yeah, the longer that you go keeping these guys alive, the harder it is to mitigate their damage. So it's very important to make sure that you're doing both, that you're blocking and attacking. So I think I could have finished that fight off sooner if I would have just played Fiend Fire earlier. It would have been nice to have a Feel No Pain there. Our deck really wants a Feel No Pain. Now that we have a way to exhaust a bunch of cards with Runic and Fiend Fire, I opt to take on this fight to get that red mask. And this starting attack by them, it's kind of difficult because you have to do like multiple things at one time. If I had an artifact charge or something, it would have been nice. But look at this attack hitting us for 30 on turn 2. It's like if you don't have a way to take one of these guys out, or you don't have, it's like this quickly just becomes a problem, right? You're just taking massive amounts of damage. We did get rid of 1, and now it's a lot easier. We did have to lean into our potions, but that's fine. We do have 2 left. I do want to let you guys know that I recently tried a challenge run. Yeah, I recently tried a challenge run where I would always take a card if it was presented to me. And this was my first challenge run that I tried. So always take a card if it's presented to you. Next time I think I'll put something on the screen to remind me to do that, because there were some like events where I didn't consider like statuses or curses, I mean, as one of those conditions. But there are some events where you can take a card, like Madness, and I think that should fall into the criteria of always having to take a card. And I think Bloodletting is too good to pass up here. But yeah, so I could, in the challenge run that I completed, I could remove cards, but I had to take a card every time it was presented to me, and I failed that run. I failed that run when I got up to the final boss. I got up to, I think, Donu and Deka, and then they just outscaled me, and my cards were, you know, I have a bunch of strikes and a bunch of defense, and it's hard to scale when you're just drawing strikes and defense. So I wasn't sure whether to post that. I think if I had, then that video, you guys would have had 2 videos come out this week. I could see how, as a viewer, you'd only want to really see runs that are successful. I think me as a viewer, I lean towards that as well. I want to see successful runs. And if I see a run that's losing, I saw recently a run of a big streamer, and he was playing an Ascension 36 run. And I think in that case, it makes sense if you upload a video that you fail in, because the odds of you winning that run are just tremendously terrible, and people expect you to win Ascension 20 runs regularly, but beating something at Ascension 34, 36, whatever the case is a lot more difficult, and I think people understand that. So if you make it relatively far in one of those runs, then that's an achievement, right? You're going above what people usually do. Fiend Fire is just beautiful here against Gremlin Leader. And then look at this, the other guy can't even do anything towards us. So with Feel No Pain now, it's just like our deck is finally up to the point where we can block ridiculous amounts of damage. You know, if we had that barricade also, we would have been amazing this turn. But look, we ended up drawing Entrench, and that helped us. So our deck is just working now. And, you know, we can take out Gremlin Leader this turn. Yeah, I generally think that people want to see wins. In cases where the challenge is so ridiculous, it makes sense why you would post a loss. You know, it could be very entertaining if you got up to a very late game stage, which we did. We got up to a very late game stage, but that was on 0 Ascension. So I think people are more like they would lean to watching something if it was Ascension 20, or, you know, and you're trying to do that, but they expect you to make it still. So yeah, so basically what I'm saying is I think I understand that I, as a viewer, would prefer watching a win. So I'm not sure if it's okay to fail in these challenges and post them or not. But I also am of the opinion that, you know, this is my channel, and as long as I find it interesting, I'm sure that the viewer would find it interesting. But I guess that video just didn't pass the scale, in a sense. It didn't pass the barrier in order to make it to an upload. But I do plan on doing other challenge runs. But I think I want to make my way up to the Ascensions. And I've just been having fun with Ironclad. You know, there's other games that are out, and I find myself constantly passing them up to just play another run with Ironclad. So that's just how good this game is. And it's just, I really think the fact that you could finish a run within an hour or an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you've beaten the entire game, and you get that sense of achievement, and then you can just load up another one, you know, in a couple hours or the next day. It's just what's really good about this. And I hope that Slay the Spire 2 is beatable in the same amount of time. Here we had the Slavers fight, and Slavers always take a chunk of your HP away from you. And I guess I didn't talk too much about my previous 2 relics, but, you know, meal ticket is a nice bonus, right? Some more passive healing. I'm not gonna say no to that. And then the paper frog is really nice with Ironclad's vulnerability mechanics, so I appreciate that as well. And I think that these are just adds. I really like these kind of passive relics right now. I think as a new player, you like the passive stuff, and then we've gotten a lot of kind of passive relics that are really good. You know, some not so passive relics are something like Incense Burner, which I, as a new player, struggle to use Incense Burner to its best possible level, right? Because it involves sometimes setting up to be playing it the right way. And then this is another passive relic that Vars are giving us an extra strength, which we do need. I think I take a spot weakness here, and I'm not sure if it's kind of good. Spot weakness is kind of slow, and it requires energy every turn, and right now we're on 3 energy. Sometimes we have more energy with bloodletting, but you know, using an energy for spot weakness is kind of rough, whereas using 3 energy on 1 turn for a demon form just continuously gives you passive strength, which is a lot better in my opinion. But yeah, I would lean towards these kind of like passive relics. Like, I like those a lot more than a stone calendar or incense burner or Pendib. Pendib is kind of, you gotta keep in mind, like if you want to use Pendib to its best possible level, to its best possible conclusion, you set up your Pendib, and then you're very mindful of like when you play Pendib. And I don't want to keep track of that most of the time, at least, you know, because there's these other facets of the game that I'm kind of keeping track of currently, being a newer player. The complexity of using Pendib at the right time or using Incense Burner at the right time is still something that's kind of something I can improve on, but it's not something that I'm kind of looking to improve on right now, as there's so many other aspects of just Ironclad's card pool or you know, exhaust mechanics that I'm kind of more interested in learning right now. It's like when the right time to exhaust something is, what cards can you exhaust down to that just become stronger than other cards. You know, something, you know, it's hard sometimes to exhaust a certain card that you feel is valuable, but might not actually be valuable in the certain hallway fight that you're in. So those decisions, and then also like not playing a card even though you have energy for it, knowing that you have Relic, is like something that's very interesting to me right now. So there's other things other than like maximizing incense burner that I'm more interested in right now. And if I have a choice at a shop between an incense burner and something else, I might pass up on incense burner, because incense burner in the hands of someone much more experienced is like an instant win of a run, but in the hands of me and how I'm most likely going to use it, it isn't as good as maybe something more passive. So those are decisions that I have to make versus another player, because something may be very strong, but the way in which you play doesn't actually lend to it being strong. So hopefully that made sense. I think it did. But yeah, those are the kind of things that I'm thinking about. We do a pretty good job in this fight so far against Sphere Guardian, and then this Fiend Fire is just going to take us out of this completely. And I think something early on, and I'm speaking like I'm more experienced, but I'm more experienced than I was maybe 10 hours ago, right? Playing Ironclad. And something that as a new player, exhausting seems like a bad thing, which is interesting because 30% of Ironclad's cards say exhaust on them. But as a new player, I think exhausting something, like, it seems bad, so you might... I think I looked towards things that wouldn't exhaust, so something like Flame Barrier was better to me, right, than other cards. And Flame Barrier is good, I'm not going to say that it's not good, but, you know, something like Feel No Pain was something that I would take, because as a new player also, just powers seem really good, and they are, but sometimes, like I said before, powers are not what you want to play. Actually, there might be situations where you don't play a power. So I think in this situation, I think I take out the sorcerer. I think maybe taking out the knight was more important than that in that scenario. Since he now is hitting me for 24, I think we can block it, but it's still a lot. And the other one just allows you to hit it more. And this thing is going to hit for 24 again. Yeah, you're just kind of stuck in a cycle where I have to block, but I can't block that much. So, you know, he just wants to be annoying right now. But yeah, I think taking him out with the Fiend Fire was actually better. And the other mage was just going to buff itself. And then it was stuck on like 26 health, so I would have been able to take it out in the next turn. So that's kind of something that I'm learning from this hallway fight. But yeah, I think as a new player, you lean towards not wanting exhaust because exhausting seems bad. And now that I'm kind of like 10-15 hours into playing Ironclad, you understand that exhausting is good. And I'm also learning from people who've played over hundreds, maybe thousands of hours as Ironclad, and you learn that exhausting is good, and things being ethereal also, like, as a new player, if something's ethereal, you want to play it because you don't want to lose it. At least that was me. I'm speaking as me. When something was ethereal, I wanted to play it so that I don't lose it. But there's sometimes as Ironclad where you want ethereal things, you don't want to play them so that you do lose it, and so that it does synergize with a Feel No Pain and a Dark Embrace. So, just interesting. This game, you know, as your understanding of it kind of evolves, there's more layers to what you're leaning towards doing and what opens up for you as an idea. And here I was going to attack the Chosen, but realized that this cultist obviously powers itself up over and over again, so I almost forgot that it's a threat, even though it's waving its arms around, kind of making its presence known to me, like reminding me like, hey, I'm here. You might want to take me out. Also, like, look at that. Fiend Fire is again still good. Like, Fiend Fire is amazing Act 1. Fiend Fire is still continuing to be amazing Act 2, and obviously it's going to still be amazing the further that we get in, just because it's just such a good card and just does so much. Especially upgraded. Just an insane amount of damage working with Runic. I rest there before the champ fight, because champ is no joke. And I got rid of my Carnage because it was going to fade away anyway. I think I take a trip here. Just make sure that champ is vulnerable. And that means that I open myself up to not have to play the bash. I think Iron Wave is a good play. Yep. We don't block anything that turn. So that ethereal there came in for us. You know, in a pretty small way, but still, it did come in for us. We're much more comfortable playing Battle Trance after our Ink Bottle procced. Anger dealt a good amount of damage there. Gaining that gain in strength from Flex definitely helped. I think we want to be careful here because I think playing Barricade is better. I think we want to be careful here because you get champ down to half health and he buffs himself up, so we probably want to just chill for a moment. Let him just keep doing what he's doing, and we'll keep getting stronger as well. And just prepare ourselves for the next turns to really just do something crazy to him. Or we can opt, since we have Barricade now, we can opt to block, to do some good blocking. Getting rid of Strike is nice too. Just making our hand not as bad. Entrench is going to help us scale our block to a good point. And we are dealing damage with Juggernaut, I believe. Ooh, Apotheosis. Gotta play that. Yeah, I'd opt to not play Bloodletting there, because yeah, that would make him go down to half. We don't want to do that yet. Just taking our time against champ. Spot weaknessing entrench. Yeah, entrench is good here. We could bloodlight here. Bloodlight, body slam. But yeah, I guess I choose not to do that. Body slam is really strong here. And fiend firing is obviously strong. Thunderclapping is good, right? Thunderclapping before I fiend fire. I think this is a good play. Bloodletting. I would thunderclap. Hey, bash would be good too, instead of thunderclap. Get rid of all these cards. And trip will ensure vulnerability. And he's done. Beautiful. Beautiful. And Reaper is really good. I think Berserk is rough sometimes. Berserk is definitely easier to play after you get your barricade going on. But after you get your barricade going on, then anything you play is good. But Berserk just makes you unstoppable. I guess it's kind of slow. Impervious just works with barricade and stuff. So, probably the safest play. Reaper is always nice though. So the choice right now is between Reaper and Impervious. I think I'm leaning towards Impervious though. And our relics are pretty good. I think Sozu's fine. I think Sozu's pretty good. And Empty Cage is good because we remove our strikes. We get Donu and Deka at the end, which Donu and Deka used to be my favorite bosses to take out because of them being more simple in their approach than Time Eater or the Awakened one. I actually think that Donu and Deka are not as easy as I thought that they were. They're easy if you're silent, I think. Like Silent really wants to see Donu and Deka. Especially because you can have Corpse Explosion work, and Corpse Explosion is just a good card regardless. But I think if you're Ironclad, you might want to see Time Eater. I'm not sure. So we're in Act 3 now. If anybody made it this far, would ask you to subscribe to the channel. Really helps. Would appreciate it. Thank you to anyone who has subscribed. And thank you to all the people who are watching the shorts that I post. Those shorts are getting very, very big views. You know, I recently had a short that got over 2,000 views, and so just seeing the viewership go up, the viewership is going up everywhere. I think the first YouTube video that I posted, the long form, now we're talking long form YouTube video, got the most views out of anything that I posted. And look at Fiend Fire again going crazy. But the first YouTube video that I posted was, I guess, sent out to more people's algorithm than the next videos. But in terms of YouTube Shorts, there's been a substantial increase in their view rates over time. Some of them don't perform well, but then some of them perform extremely well. So I guess it's a little more inconsistent. While the full-length videos are more consistent, they're leaning towards a lot less views. But anyway, these are just things that I've noticed, but I want to say thank you to anybody who is watching the shorts consistently. You may not even know that it's from me when you're watching it, or when you're scrolling, or when they pop up right on your feed. But some of those I really like, and I think one of the ones that I really enjoyed and that was very simple was the triple dropkick video. I just enjoyed that. The sounds in those videos, the sound in that short was just good. I'm glad I found that sound and was able to time it in a way that it sounded like it was happening in game, but it's also comical in the way that it comes off. So if you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, but I like that one. And we don't have energy. We don't have a way to consistently have 4 energy or 5 energy in a turn, which is unfortunate, right? Because we have these high cost powers that want to get played, and that would help us. So we need other ways to generate energy. And Gremlin Horn, in this case, in this Darkling fight, is a great way to generate energy. We just have to take out one of them and then we'd get more energy. So and this is free. So there, we could have actually played Body Slam instead if Body Slam was going to give us more damage, and I think it was. We could have played Body Slam there because we did have Metallicize doing 3, so that was me not realizing what Metallicize was doing. You're probably going to play this power and play target? Yeah. I am also looking into, if you saw us take Empty Cage, I'm trying out not leaning on these energy boss relics. I'm not leaning on them entirely. Obviously, Runic gives you 4 energy a lot of time. Just being able to play what you want when you want kind of gives you 4 energy and gives you so much access to a whole bunch of other strategies. So taking Runic I might take Runic over energy relics because of that. And empty cage, I just took empty cage over energy relic because potions are actually useful in these low ascensions. You know, just having them there give you a whole extra, they are almost acting like an extra card in your hand. So now my hand size is 13 or whatever because I have potions that essentially do card actions. Fiend firing here just makes a lot of sense, just to get rid of one and then most likely be able to take out this thing after that. Probably Twin Strike just takes him out. Beautiful. And we're out of there. That slime fight actually was harder than some of these other fights. Seems like we're gonna take some damage here. It's not the worst though. Again, because of Burning Blood. What I'm probably gonna do in this fight is strength scale to take him out, but also focus on just gaining passive block and just leveling up my block so that these guys take themselves out with me gaining block. Well, not take themselves out, but Juggernaut will essentially take them out, and things like Flame Barrier. So when they attack me, they'll just hit themselves. Because I don't like dealing with these spikes. I don't like dealing with those thorns. I find it annoying, and my brain just rather go like infinite scaling so that they just are not even an issue. Yeah, so I'm working out what the best line is there, and I do think that that's what I'm kind of going to lean towards, is like strength scaling, even though strength isn't actually important. Once we kind of start blocking a lot, and then if we have Juggernaut, but what strength scaling allows us to do is also like attack sometimes with body slams. So Iron Wave is probably the play here, and then probably just ending turn. Barricade being on 2 energy is huge, especially when you're stuck on 3 energy. That upgrade is just a big help. I decided to play defend there just to, and then I get Flex out of my hand, so I can just draw more defending cards. And I'm at the point where they can't touch me anymore. And if I play Juggernaut, then it's just like complete passive. I should have played Juggernaut, probably. But at this point, I can just take them both out, I think, with attacks. So I might do that. Like, just Thunderclapping there was probably okay. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Now I don't even need to do anything. That's what's great about Juggernaut. I have a lot of money piled up. Be great if we found a shop soon. Found our way into a shop. Yeah, Headbutt is always good. Headbutt just keeps allowing you to do whatever it is that your deck kind of wants to do. You can prioritize a certain card if you've just played it. Like in this example here, like just being able to play Spot Weakness over and over, if that's what we wanted to do, is a good thing. We did not draw any defense cards this turn. Puts us in a bad spot. So I weakened the first one and then I attacked the second one. That way my weak has more turns to be useful. Yeah, Thunderclapping here makes sense. Bloodletting. Possibly using Bludgeon. Yeah, 64 damage is huge. And we can just Fiend Fire and he's done. So that's the power of Vulnerable plus Spot Weakness. And then I had Varja already in play also. Oh, and then the Paper Frog came in clutch there too. So Vulnerable is just really good. So that Thunderclap decision early on in our run just makes a lot of sense. Entrench being on sale is really funny. I think we do have to take it. And then looking at this other things in the shop, you know, kunai, I think that's ginger. I think Entrench just makes the most sense. And then probably just removing a strike. Yeah, kunai makes sense because we want that to actively give us block and dexterity, just increasing our block cards. Just has synergy with what we're doing. Sling of Courage is really good, just makes us happier to take on elites. So I'll probably just take Sling of Courage. Yeah, especially right before an elite fight. So we start off now with 3 strength against elites. Limit Break would be a great card for us now, and Limit Break would actually be a lot better than Spot Weakness. So anytime we saw Spot Weakness, we could just exhaust it if we had a Limit Break plus. Is this... I think Giant Head might be the easiest elite fight. I think it might be the easiest. it just gives you so much time this late in the game to set up on it. It just is saying like, hey, just play all your powers the first couple turns. Play one defend or play one shrug it off and then play your powers and you'll outscale me. Even though we have Fiend Fire in our deck, in our hand now, like, we don't want to Fiend Fire all these cards. We have to get to a state where we only have, like, some BS cards in our hand that we don't really want before we can Fiend Fire. And it might be worth it to, like, strength scale up a little bit before we play. And definitely have a vulnerable applied before we play it. I guess I just decide to remove those cards. I decide to just remove all those cards and play with these cards that are left. Because I know that I can just scale block with the cards that I have left. To the point where a giant head can't really touch me anymore. Now Metallicize is kind of slow. Juggernaut's important. Juggernaut's kind of slow also. I think it's worth playing though. Yeah, now I play Metallicize after Juggernaut so that it procs every time. And Body Slam is just gonna... Body Slam just did so much damage. I think if we just play the Angers, we win, so... Wind Strike might have won us there. Yeah, Bloodletting, but it's not necessary. Oh, Shuriken on top of Kunai. Wow. That is huge. Corruption is really good. Corruption is not something that I typically lean towards, especially since like our deck wants to keep playing skills. Corruption... Corruption gets us to a lot of hallway fights easily. But in a case like this, I don't want to play Corruption early. Because there are intangible turns where Nemesis, you can't really damage him. So exhausting your skills can make it so you don't have any more skills. And therefore you can't gain your block. taking on a Burning Elite, and that is going to let us hopefully take on the Heart after. Something to keep in mind is that we have Ice Cream as a relic, and I don't believe I use that well either, so the Ice Cream falls into the category of something like an incense burner or something along those lines to me, where you have to be aware that you have that, where Shuriken and Kunai kind of work without you even knowing that they're there also, although, you know, that is also something to keep in mind, but I like how passive they are. Ice Cream is passive as well, whereas sometimes you don't want to play the energy. So for example, like even here, like I could Bloodlet now and then just Ice Cream the energy to the next turn, and that opens me up to have an extra card, so that's something that I could be doing. So that's interesting, because your hand can only draw so many cards. See, my hand is full, so if we played Bloodletting last turn, and even if we didn't play any of the cards in our hand, we would have been able to draw another card, which would have been, it could have been a good thing. Like applying Bash here might be, yeah. So we ended up getting it anyway, but possibly could have had another card in our hand. You guys should let me know in the comments if you guys are watching at this point. If you guys let me know what kind of Ironclad deck is your favorite. Like, what do you like to see? What do you like to lean towards? Are you more strength? Are you more barricade focused? You know, obviously sometimes we have to maybe alter what we want to do versus what the game is kind of giving us. But if you could just have, you know, your perfect run, what would you kind of want it to look like? You know, maybe it's an infinite combo that you like to kind of distill your deck down towards. Yeah, Ghostly Armor makes sense there for us, because we do have Barricade going. Decide to rest here because we have another elite fight coming up. So in that moment, I took 3 damage to not take 4. So that was kind of optimal play. And then I also got a strength increase and a dexterity increase from playing 3 attacks. Here, I don't know. I'm leaning towards true gritting the bludgeon. Actually, I know that sounds crazy, but maybe the bludgeon lovers. I don't mind. I pay body slam there just to draw another card. But yeah, I don't mind true gritting the bludgeon. I also don't mind true gritting the Warcry. Although playing the Warcry kind of makes sense if we have, because we have exhaust synergies. Gained another strength and another defend. Playing Warcry makes sense again because of those exhaust synergies, like I said before. There we could have taken 3 damage to block 4, and that means I would have blocked 1. Some we could have done. Fight's over though. And I like Shockwave. I also like Pommel Strike. Dual wielding Metallicize is also very interesting, but dual wield is rough. Because dual wield, you have to draw dual wield as long as the thing that you want to dual wield. So although dual wielding is like cool in theory, having just the extra power of the thing that you want is like so much better. I like Discovery. Although it does draw Shrug It Off, which is nice. It's a good block card. Gremlin Horn. Yeah, Bludgeon never really does anything for us, and at the times that Bludgeon does something for us, most of the time we could have just did something different. It's just kind of a dead card most of the time. Reptomancer is an interesting fight. I think our deck is able to handle Reptomancer pretty easily. We have some good decent scaling now to be able to deal with him. Playing Corruption at this point wouldn't be terrible, I don't think, because we could just focus on dealing crazy damage to Reptomancer straight on. Yeah, that's beautiful. But now Carnage is out of here. Huh. Yeah, we can play Barricade, Impervious, Ghostly Armor. We can now play all of our skills and just have a crazy amount of block. And Juggernaut's working, so that is awesome. And True Gritting the Strike, probably. Like here, I think waiting to next turn wouldn't have been bad. We do end up, we end up drawing it. We got a bag of prep, which is huge. It's just an amazing relic to give you all the options on turn 1, which is the turn where you want your options. You want extra card draw on turn 1 to set you up for the rest of the fight. Probably flexing, carnaging, yeah. Striking. Good idea. We could have also waited that turn. Again, that's one of those things where if we would have waited, we would have been able to use our energy to trigger kunai and shuriken. Probably a lot easier. So that's kind of a thing. Here, just blocking that damage is nice. And I use Ghost Armor just to make it not be ethereal, but okay, there, yeah, I didn't need to play that defend. I could have just attacked the sphere because Metallicize was going to take us over. You're playing Duplication Potion on Bludgeon might be a play, right? To take out Sphere. Just takes them out right away. Yeah, I could have mitigated that whole thing. I could have just destroyed him. I didn't need to take all that damage by duplicating that bludgeon. It's my bad. There I used Battle Trench just to get it out of my hand also because that way that not drawing cards effect worked this turn instead of next turn. Here I do recognize that I could just bludgeon them and take them out. And this fight is taking us a surprisingly long time. Now I recognize that I can store energy with ice cream. a good thing we have that potion too, that can alleviate some of this health that we lost by misplaying. That was a good play. And at this point we're done, because now we have all our powers in play, so we can just infinite scale block and then just let these guys die due to Juggernaut. And then Metallicize also just does damage to them. There we go. Probably worth it to take another headbutt. But, skip. The Maw. This enemy looks really cool. Yeah, I feel like I could get through this fight. Interesting. Well, we're frail. Our black cards aren't doing anything really. Could set up barricade. Well, Apotheosis being 0 is huge. And bloodletting. Great. Barricade. Shrug. Our body slam is gonna get ridiculous soon. Let's, yeah, keep the vulnerable up. Might bludgeon here. I think bludgeon will be fine to get rid of. Twin strike headbutting is cool too. Yeah. Playing body slam makes sense to get the strength, but should have played those cards first. Impervious body slamming is now crazy. Yeah, body slam just takes them out. Nice. like I said, Berserk. You can Berserk after all of this is set up. So Berserk looks good to me after that. If we draw it late. Especially against Dono and Deco, speed things up. So Berserk to me is kind of like a win more kind of play. Since our deck already can scale out of control with Barricade. Upgrade Barricade just in case I draw it early. And red mask, the artifact away our red mask effect. I duplicate Feel No Pain because I could see me playing that this turn for my block. Flex Fiend Fire. Although Shrug It Off gives me other options. The thing about not having 4 energy is like there's cards that I want to get out of my hand before playing Fiend Fire. Triggering the strike makes sense. Yep. Donu and Deka. It's Warcry. Donu and Deka just like their sprites. The character design here. So simple, but it's good. I like that they look worn. They have some battle scars to them too, right? They've been in some fights. You've seen some action. So we do get to play a power here. So even though we're playing double flame barrier, we're getting stronger. And then here's where I'm like realizing like these Deka just wants to keep attacking me. Donu keeps attacking me. Like they take a time to not attack, but then they come and attack. So if I don't quickly do something about this, then the scaling is going to get to a point where I can't do anything. So me blocking fully was now looking like a mistake instead of like activating my power so that I could just be on their level. Like if I drew Barricade earlier, obviously it would have just helped out so much, but I feel like I do need energy here. Like if I had Bloodletting here, it would allow me to play my powers. You know, if I don't play my powers, then I'm never going to be able to scale fast enough to beat these guys. Just evaluating my options. Something that I realized during this is also like that I rested before, or I think I upgraded Barricade before coming in here, and I forgot that I was supposed to recall to get the last key in order to fight the heart. Yeah, you know, it's just something that's so easily forgettable. You know, when you're at a campfire, you have all these options that you're just like, oh, let me choose one. But yeah, unfortunately we won't be fighting the heart even if we beat this fight. I was able to play Berserk there, which I think is going to help us win. Because now we can scale. So he's gonna do basically 40 damage to us. Always feel no pain. We got that. Donu's basically done. I mean, I can bloodlet, bash. Well, it seems I don't have to. I could just body slam. Nice. Yeah, it made sense there to activate to proc the next level. Because it procs both for attack and defense. And now I'm using defense to get him out of my hand at an entrenching, and now at this point Deca can't do anything. He's stuck at 19 times 2, so we can just focus on attacking for the first time in this fight. And the fight's done. It was beautiful. Our deck really came together at the end there. You know, those boss fights are a great indication of like what your final form is, right? The other hallway fights and things, elite fights even, don't even get you to the point where you've used everything in your arsenal, and these boss fights let you really get down to what your deck is after everything is played. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, please leave me a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and watch this video. If you like this one, you probably like this recommended video for you. Alright, see you guys on the next video. Bye.